Yes, sir.
Do you have to read off anything from the start there?
No, I don't have it ready. I don't really think we need to anyways. Just make sure all votes are done by roll call if we have any, which I don't think, it'll just be the minutes, I guess.
Do you want to do the minutes right now and then go back to the discussion items?
Sure. It's up to you guys.
Is it okay with everyone? Do you want to do it? Should we do each one individually?
That doesn't matter. You can group them together or individual.
Okay, so can I have a motion to approve the minutes from December 7th, December 14th, and December 15th?
So moved.
And can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Do a roll call.
Okay, roll call, I'm sorry. Go right around the room. Start with Joanne,
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Yep,
Is that a yep from everybody?
It's a yes.
Yep.
for me.
and then you put me down for a yes as well.
All right. Those are unanimously approved.
Okay, good. So back to item 1, the upcoming meetings, agenda items, the discussions for schedule for 2022. Anyone want to start off?
Well, real quick, I just wanted to say I put this together as a potential starting point for your discussions. I did budget 2 meetings for each month through June, but that's not to say you guys need to do 2 meetings in each June. I just wanted to put that for you as options. You could do more, you could do less. It's up to you guys. The only 2 things that could be tied to dates at the moment is Kathy Williams did say she could come into your next meeting to provide an update on the drive-in site. Steve, I know you had asked about that. So if you want, we could do that on the 25th. And I touched base with Bill Scott to ask him when he'd be ready to come back and talk about the economic studies that we had previously talked about. He suggested a second meeting in February, so maybe February 22nd. And he's also eager to talk to you guys about wayfinding and how we can work on a plan for that. So that's a little bit different than the kind of business district signs that we had talked about. I know Joe specifically brought up. It could be done in conjunction, it could be done separately, kind of up to you guys. The wayfinding signs, I think you probably know, are like, you come to like the parking lot of like the bike trail and it'll say all the nearby restaurants and stuff like that, where you can get to. So I know Bill has done that in other towns and he'd like to talk to you guys about that. But other than that, I have like a list of topics I put down based off of our recent discussions and stuff that Steve brought up that I have listed down here. And I figured we could kind of start fitting them to some dates so we could figure out what we're going to do for the next 6 months or so.
So can I ask a question just from the last select board meeting?
Oh yeah, I wasn't at that.
So Ken and I did the presentation to the board, and after the fact, Mark Forrest had come out and talked to us, and it sounds like they're going to check with town council that any decisions made by this committee will then need to go before the select board for approval. And so that becomes, I expressed to Mark that I think that becomes somewhat of a logistical
Absolutely.
nightmare for some of our decisions, because that could mean it could take 1 to 2 months to even get on their agenda.
These are financial decisions we make.
Any sort of expenditures
Yeah.
Out of the
out of the
fund.
tourism fund.
So for instance, Ken and I had to go before them and talk about our recommendation, not decision, for the events.
Right.
And so since everyone had already been notified, it was, kind of an awkward situation. But they definitely do have questions about our expenditures and how we're making decisions, or I guess we're not making decisions anymore, we're making recommendations. So it's, from what I understand, it's going to town council to explain the legislation. From what we could understand from the conversation back in 2013, the town administrator was appointed the designee to approve the decisions from this committee. But now there's question if it should be the entire select board and not the town administrator.
The special legislation has written that all expenditures need to be approved by the Board of Selectmen or its designee.
Right.
And they kind of want to remove the ors, or I don't know how you want to word it. They kind of want to ignore the ors designee part, because that's how it's been done for the past 10 years, since 2013, it sounds like. And I don't know what changed, what prompted the change. And we haven't gotten any answers on that. So
Right, so I just think this committee should be aware of that. So if I don't think we're making decisions right now. I think we're making recommendations.
we've been demoted.
So, and I don't know if this is appropriate or not, so please tell me if it is, but when I think about this committee's decision, if they're going to want to do a marketing contract for the future, they just put it out, because you have to put it out for RFP this year.
Mhm.
There's a very timely process that has to happen, because if marketing stops and there's a delay, it has a negative impact. And I try to express, that wasn't even that night I was talking to the select board, I said, that becomes time sensitive for some of the things that we want to do. And I wasn't even thinking about the marketing contract until after the meeting. But things like signage, like, are we going to have to bring design to them to approve things? Like, it could really change.
Also, the more
way
cooks
we
you bring in the
function.
kitchen, like, you never agree on a signage concept.
banner.
Yeah, it's like, and if they want to be involved, I don't understand why they can attend the meetings and become, I don't know.
Well, Ken had even suggested, when it comes to the events, why even put us in the middle? Just let the whole process maybe go to the select board. I just think the whole committee should be aware of that discussion that happened.
Mary, what did, after Ken said that, what did the board say
About which part? I'm
about
sorry.
putting us in the middle, having them take over the whole process?
Oh, Ken didn't say that out loud. He said that after, because we were kind of like surprised on how it was happening.
Yeah. It's, I don't know what prompted all this, like you guys, but it seems to me maybe someone's disgruntled at a decision we might have made. But to be honest with you, they need to clarify what they want us to do. Do they want us to continue on doing what we're doing? Because we invest a lot of time and energy in these things. And if they just want to take over this whole process, go for it. But I guess we got.
Yeah, I don't think it was a disgruntle. I think that a few select board members started reading the legislation word for word and want to see if they're complying.
Well, to Steve's point, they just started randomly reading the legislation. Nothing
Well-
prompted that, like that's where but it doesn't matter either
Yeah, I
way.
mean, I've only
Well,
been here,
where did Whitnow come out on this? I mean,
he didn't
the
say a
whole-
word.
the whole idea with a board is that they are in charge of governance, like the big picture.
Right.
And a lot of their authority is delegated to the town manager
Right,
or the mayor or whoever it might be.
right.
So they're going to abrogate all of the responsibilities that even the town administrator might have in something like this. They should not, this is micromanagement 101.
Right. That's what I was getting at, Joanne. Absolutely what I was getting at.
Micromanagement 101.
Am I saying it
preaching to the
wrong?
choir
I
to
mean, that
me.
was Ken and ours interpretation when we left that night.
I'm like kind of just confused by it as you
Okay.
guys, like, because I didn't find out about it until like a few days before they wanted us to come before the Board of Selectmen. I'm like, you want, like, it all started because I saw like a pretty like angry email from Mark Forrest when we had promoted the tourism grant awards, like we said we were going to, like, got it out there the next day, put it on social media. And he said, it's wholly inappropriate that we're promoting this without the Board of Selectmen having reviewed and approved these. And it's like, you never said that was going to be, that's never been the case. You never notified us that was going to be the case. We were supposed to read your mind. And
And
like,
yeah.
if you're upset, you should be upset at yourself, not at anybody else. Like,
Yeah, and
I was taken aback by the whole
I've been
thing.
on the committee since 2015, and at no time has the select board ever been involved with us.
Was it
But
anything more than a discussion?
They took a formal vote on our action.
The recommended awards, and did they all approve it? Oh, they did.
But they had additional questions, like Tracy specifically had questions about the spending of the sand sculpture trail money, but that was kind of put aside because they were just trying to get through this agenda item. But I need to reach out to Mark and say, the chamber is more than happy to come in and answer any questions you have for the allocations that we have. But usually we do a presentation.
They're also welcome to attend any of these meetings if they really care that much. I mean,
But Tracy was the only one that questioned Mark, why are we doing this?
Peter, like, where's Peter? I mean, geez, whatever.
Do you think the impetus was a timely press release, or the timing of the press release?
I guess, but it's like a bigger thing than that because they want to approve like everything. And they were upset because we released the notification without them approving, but they've never indicated that they were going to change to have to approve everything. Yeah, it's, and to Mary's point, I think this is just going to slow everything that we do down.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I was gonna say, one of two things. One is, we should, if it's not already known to the town manager, bring it to his attention, and maybe he or the assistant can come in and we can talk our way through it with them, just to get some clarity on this thing before we go too much further. Because what we've done, as far as I can see, as far as I recall, I don't go back as far as some of you folks do, but we haven't done anything out of the ordinary that we haven't done in the past. Correct?
Correct. Yeah, I mean, we could definitely do that, but just so you know, I expressed my reservations to the whole thing to the town administrator. I think you guys know I'm not afraid to say what I feel. And his response was basically like, well, since I got hired here, Mark Forrest said that this was a priority for him to kind of take the power away from the town administrator and put it in back with the board of selectmen for tourism grant decision or tourism fund decisions. But
Okay.
what I'm confused by is why change, why fix what's not broke?
Yeah.
And make it a less efficient process because it's government. That's why.
But also, what would be our role?
Oh, so what do we want to do then? If you've already brought it to their attention, it sounds like there's still some unclearness in the air that needs to be cleared.
Yeah, like Mary said, I think Karen's working with, I haven't really been able to touch base fully with Karen on this. I actually haven't even watched the meeting video yet because I've been too busy and I don't want to get frustrated by it. I know I'm just gonna get frustrated by it. But yeah, they're checking with town council basically on how to proceed from here and if the authority can be delegated and to be continued on that. Stay tuned.
Okay. So it's up to the town council to get back to the manager and the board of selectmen before we get any clarity on it. Okay.
Correct.
All right. All right then. Do we need any timeline, given what Mary was saying about the chamber's contract? Do we need any?
Yeah, I definitely think marketing should be a discussion that happens sooner than later. The contract now runs through the end of July, Mary, right? So we'd want to get the RFP out probably in April at the latest,
Or even.
or if we could
I
in
think
March.
the RFP, truthfully, I talked to Jen this morning and yesterday. I mean, in the perfect world, it would go out in February. Because you have to have it out for how many days?
60
60
I think,
days.
Yeah.
So then you're March, April. Then if you choose to interview other companies for doing that, right? And then by usually if we were to continue a contract, we would already be booking our fall stuff earlier because you can't have that gap.
So I'd say you guys want to talk about marketing either the next meeting or the 8th.
Yeah, and could I add something to that when we talk about it, Kyle?
Yeah.
Based on Mary's point, from what I know of the town, maybe you all know it better than me, but I don't see anyone else in the community that can do what the chamber is doing for us as far as that contract goes. So I would be interested in knowing from town council, if that's the appropriate place, and or the town manager, whether or not this could be sole sourced.
Should be what?
Sole sourced, I highly doubt that.
The way the legislation is written, it has to go out for RFP every 3 years.
Right,
That's not a choice.
right. But I'm just, but if there's no other entity in the community that can do that, provide those services, I think there's an option there that it doesn't have to be RFP, it could be sole sourced. I stand corrected on that, but maybe the town council could shed some light, provide some.
I can look
clarity.
into that, Steve, but I would say it's highly unlikely we'd be able to avoid the RFP process.
And I think in the best interest for sections in
Yeah.
the community, that it's better to put it out for request.
I'd agree with that.
Okay,
And I'm saying that as the agency that's had it for nearly a decade.
I believe that it has to go out to bid because you don't know if there's going to be other respondents until such time as you do put it out to bid. So you can't make a judgment that there's no one that's willing or able to do this work until you issue an RFP.
Right.
So-
Yeah, and a couple of years ago, you actually did have another company that,
Yeah, there was another company interviewed.
Okay.
What's the state of the RFP? Is it, are we looking to make any changes to it?
that's
Do you
your
think there should be
extension.
changes? I mean, it's stepping away from being the with the awardee, so to speak. I mean, are we looking to make any significant changes to it?
Probably not any significant changes, but that's for you guys to
Yeah,
discuss, like
okay.
Mary was saying. That's gonna be the whole marketing discussion. What's your budget gonna be and what are you looking for? What is like,
So we'll start with the existing.
pretty much,
RFP.
yeah, that would probably be what we do. I have to meet with Karen to talk about that stuff. We haven't really gotten to that point yet, but that's probably the idea.
So Steve, maybe we want to do that earlier rather than later.
yes, I agree. I think we want to get this on the agenda for the next meeting, Kyle.
All right,
When is our next meeting?
the 25th.
Are we doing two this month?
Yeah, if you guys want, or we could do the next one would be the 8th, February 8th. Up to you guys.
I know I'm unable to attend February 8th. In person or remote.
So did I hear February 8th is when we want to talk about?
Joe can't attend on February 8th, but up to you guys what you want your next meeting to be. It could be either the 25th or February 8th.
How's the 25th sounding for everyone?
Okay,
Okay,
Should I recuse myself or should I be here?
Well, you can certainly be here. I don't know.
You might
about-
have questions about the existing contract.
Yeah, certainly. And I think we're gonna be talking maybe drive-in
Okay,
and marketing. We could do two things that meeting, or if you wanted to focus, we could shift one to the next meeting.
we'll get the chamber one done first, Kyle, and then we can have the drive-in site probably the next meeting.
All right.
It's just my thought.
Yep.
I mean, the drive-in site discussion can be a lengthy one regarding the presentation that Beta might make on, PowerPoint presentation and questions to follow. So I want to make sure we give enough time for both the drive-in
Yep.
site and the
it's
chamber.
pretty expensive PowerPoint.
Oh,
yeah, it was
yeah,
great.
yeah,
Yeah, it was
I
really
did.
quite good.
Yeah, I'd agree that you should probably break them up, give them
And will
full time.
Kathy give the presentation?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
I'll have to double check with her on the 8th date because I know she was good for the 25th, but I think she'll probably be able to make the 8th.
All right.
So the other stuff that's kind of time sensitive, like discussion with Tracy Post. I know you guys had talked about that before. She's only serving through, I think, May. So it's not like a huge pressing concern other than the fact that she's not going to be here in June, so, or she will,
Yeah, she'll be
she just
around.
won't be as a board of selectmen member.
Now, help me out, you guys. Is there a time? Is it 3-year terms that they serve?
Yes.
3-year?
Yeah.
And they can only serve a number of terms? I mean, they can't serve for life if they wanted to, just
I
like.
think they can. I think it's like being a US senator.
Okay, just curious. So do we want to have her in nevertheless? If she's still going to be on the board until June?
Can I make a suggestion?
Absolutely.
Yes,
What if-
please.
What if we move the discussions about, I take it the TRPF process is the special events?
Yes.
What if we move that to the 25th with the marketing contract so it's fresh in our mind? And then do I think the drive-in site will take the entire meeting on the 8th and then maybe bring Tracy in the March. And by then we'll actually have probably some information back from town council about how this process is going to
Well,
work.
that would be my only suggestion. Do you want to wait until you get that advice from town council before you talk about the TRPF grant revisions? Because if the board of selectmen are going to be taking it over,
Oh, that's true.
you know,
Yeah, but no matter what, we would make recommendations to them about the
Yeah,
process.
yeah. I think that's true.
Oh, so you want to go over that again, Mary, just so I can get it?
So my suggestion was on the 25th to do the marketing contract, but also review the TRPF special event process while it's fresh in our mind.
Okay,
And, you know, if the select board is going to do something different, at least we're making the recommendation about what we would suggest moving forward.
okay. That's fine with me. You guys, everything else okay with you? Good. Joe?
I think we got the 25th and the 8th pretty much all buttoned up.
When's Ken back? Do we know?
Good question. I don't
I think
know.
he said 1 month.
Yeah, I think he did say 1 month, but I don't know if you'll be able to participate remotely at all.
Mm.
That's a good question, though. I'd hope he's back by the 2nd February meeting.
Okay,
We also will need to do committee, and you know what, I'll let you guys go down the list of topics. I don't want to get ahead of myself.
When do we normally do that, the committee
In the
reorganization?
beginning of the year, like this meeting.
Okay.
But with Ken being out, obviously, you probably want to wait until he's around. So you might, maybe you could do that the first meeting in March.
what's that, Kyle?
I was saying you could maybe do committee reorganization, the first meeting in March.
Okay,
So in February, we'll only have 1 meeting? Is that what you're?
There'd be 2. It'd be the 8th, the drive-in site, and the 22nd, economic studies and wayfinding.
Or that would be the Bill Scott meeting.
Right.
in the economic studies is the one that the town has hired with a consultant?
Yeah,
Or-
Bill will come back with an update for you guys on that.
Okay. All right,
Maybe on the March 8th, do you, Joanne, do you think I know there's a housing meeting tonight and on February 3rd,
Correct.
and then.
Oh, they set the date for the virtual?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see
Yeah,
that.
because I canceled for tonight, but so she told me February 3rd, so maybe at the March 8th meeting, we could do housing. And hopefully by that time, for those of you who don't know, the chamber's working with the planning board on some seasonal workforce housing, so maybe we can talk housing on the 8th as well. That's
Sure, sure.
Sounds good.
So Mary.
Yep,
you
that's
can
good.
join us.
Yep.
okay, so we got June, March, we got February covered and we into March now?
Yeah, I think you could probably get away with just 1 meeting in March if you guys want it. And maybe invite Tracy at the first meeting in April.
She's gonna be very busy in the spring.
That's good. That's true. But these are a bunch of voters in here. You'd think she'd want to come and talk to you guys.
We should probably ask her what she's thinking.
We definitely would need to, obviously, yeah. Just kind of trying to put some tentative dates in.
So you want to check with her, Carl, see if she's
Yep.
available?
Yeah, I'll check in with her.
Hey, again, we don't need too much of her time.
Right.
You know, I think it was originally why the ask went out was for a questioning of us, I guess, at the committee, at the Board of Selectmen meeting we attended several months ago. Right when Peter joined the Board of Selectmen.
Yep.
I don't know if those were questions coming from a different place at a different time. But
Well, I think it would just be good. She was served way back when it was originally founded, so it'd be good to kind of compare how the committee's changed and what did you guys used to focus on, and I think that would be a good picking of the brain of sorts.
yep. Okay,
And then obviously you want to add broadband on there somewhere.
Yeah, broadband maybe in May.
yeah,
Because that we'll have to discuss with Paul Chaffee, our IT director, and I know he's working on a million things. And when I talked to him about this like a month ago, he said, "Oh, well, probably wouldn't be ready to talk about it until like March or April. So give him a couple more months, and we'll say May, first meeting in May, we can take that topic back up." But I do think that's a very important discussion.
Mhm.
But we definitely need somebody in the room with some expertise. I only understand it on a very 3,000 foot level, so.
Is the town in any position to understand what the infrastructure bill contained in it and what kinds of big projects might be coming forward as a result of that?
That's a good question. Are you talking about
Or
like,
the Keating's office could tell us, or
yeah,
what
you're
the
talking about like
provisions are in-
the Build Back Better bill? Or is
yeah,
that
the one that passed,
not the one that
Not the one that's
didn't?
pending forever.
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, I think they want shovel ready projects. So I think we'd be in a very good position for wastewater because we'll be
Yeah,
shovel ready
Yeah.
pretty soon. Broadband, I think would probably be tougher because we're not really anywhere close to being shovel ready to like, depending on what we want to do. First, we have to figure out what we want to do with broadband really. Because we had previously talked about trying to like do some sort of, neighborhood cluster as a pilot project. And you guys were going to help pick what we thought was the most high impact area that could pick up maybe some businesses as well. So that's what I'm hoping we can pick back up, and we're going to do this pilot project. Does that
this
still
was
make
with
sense?
one, this was with one Cape, similar to what they had
Open
done
Cape.
in Falmouth, Open Cape,
Yes.
similar to the, what
Yes.
the pilot they did, yeah, okay.
So we were the chamber was trying to work with Open Cape to do a pilot on that new housing that was just built where Yarmouth Gardens is. But we could never get Open Cape to sit down.
Yeah, they're a little,
With the developer. That would have been like the perfect example. If we could have taken that stretch from like CVS
Mhm.
down to, I don't know, even beyond Dunkin' Donuts, right? And
Yeah,
get to the
yeah.
inflatable park. If we could have just done that because of how many businesses and homes you could have impacted
Yeah.
there.
and their spines right through Route 28.
It's
It's
right
just
there.
getting the connections.
Yeah, it's already in.
It's already
Yeah,
on
yeah,
along
it's
Route
all there,
28.
yeah.
Yeah.
But there are so many businesses that we think do not even know it's there. Like it's the communication. Because when those apartments were being built, why wouldn't they have done that?
Mhm. Yeah, wired them all up.
Exactly.
So
Opportunity.
the two other items that we haven't put on there is, although we did do wayfinding signage, just signage in general, if we want to talk about the business district signage, we could probably roll that in with the wayfinding signage discussion. If you guys want it on the 22nd there. The other thing was Steve suggested, we talk about like the local comprehensive plan as it relates to economic development. Joanne, maybe you could give us some guidance on like if there is like a role for the CEDC to play and when that would come into play.
Sure, I can touch base with Kathy.
Yeah.
And maybe she can join us and as one of the chapters in the local comprehensive plan, what
Yep.
we need to do, sure.
Yep.
That's a good idea.
But other than that, that's the list I came up with, and I think that covers everything you came up with too, Steve. But I don't know if anybody else had any other items that.
well, there were two things there, Kyle, that I wanted to bring to the committee's attention too. One was the getting a handle because of what's going on, or will be going on with that economic development analysis. At some point, I foresee they're going to come up with a strategy for picking locations in the community where they want to focus development upon. I think it'd be wise incumbent upon us to get a handle on what properties, either nonprofit or otherwise, that may be good commercial candidates for growth and development, where they are and where they stand. So just getting a handle on that list that's somewhere in the town, and seeing what role this committee could play in updating that list and maybe picking 5 or 10 properties off there that we think are viable candidates for economic development growth. That's one thing. And the other thing was, hate to keep harping on this, but as long as I'm on this committee, I'm going to keep harping on this, the town common. You know, that's, one study was done on the viability of putting some type of measure in place or measures in place to accommodate water that resides in periods of high flow activity on the common, and prevents a problem as far as using it in certain times. Just want to get an update on that. And those two items I just spoke about, the town common and or those development parcels, potential development parcels, could be potential candidates for any of that money that was passed by the Congress and the president a few months back. So that's all. I just want to make sure those are before us and we keep an eye on those that are going forward.
Yeah, so to that point, Steve, I did ask for an update from the DPW on the Yarmouthport Common. I think they were supposed to have a meeting on site with MassDOT, but the meeting got canceled. So no further update at this moment, but it does sound like they're keeping tabs on it. So there'd be really nothing for the committee to discuss at this time, but I will make sure I stay in touch with Amanda, the town engineer, who's kind of the heading up the project. So it hasn't been lost. We are still on our periphery, so to speak.
Okay.
So I would say, TBD when the committee can talk about the next update for that, because we just don't have anything at the moment, And as to your other point, I'm not totally sure, to be honest, what Bill Scott has in mind on this economic studies stuff, but I would hope that stuff would flesh a lot of that stuff out. Exactly what you're talking about, identifying the high priority sites for redevelopment and what we should be trying to attract in these redevelopment centers. Can we craft a TIF that gets us there, that kind of stuff. I think that's exactly kind of what he was talking about. But we can certainly, I think that would be a good thing, Steve, to bring up on the meeting on the 22nd. Because Bill is very experienced in exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, and I think also for the town to be prepared, once we know what type of development we want, what do we have for marketing materials to recruit those businesses here, right? So to be proactive on that as well.
Yep.
Kyle, in what context did the Wayfinder conversation come up?
So I brought up the topic of signage, and Bill and all the towns he's worked in has done a lot of wayfinding projects. I think that's kind of like I don't know if I want to say a passion of his, but it's something he feels provides a lot of economic impact to the community. And there are a lot of grants out there that help you plan out wayfinding. I don't know if we'd want to pursue one of those grants because Bill has experience with them and has said, sometimes it's better if you fund kind of a consultant to help you plan it out and then go for a grant for the actual construction, as opposed to the other way around, because he's done it where he's gotten a consultant for a town and they give him a wayfinding sign that looks like it was in Europe as opposed to a town in Massachusetts. So I know Bill kind of wanted to talk to you guys more about that, about maybe you guys potentially fund a consultant who helps us plan that stuff out. And then we leverage that to go to get a grant for the actual construction of it. So that's some of the background on that. Signage has just been a difficult topic to tackle because it's how big do you want to go? Do you want to include all the town signage? Do we want to include historic areas, conservation areas, all the town buildings, Then we want to make sure that we have all the signs in the same style and
Well,
everything.
that's what I was going to say.
And it gets
Where the
complicated.
consultant would be helpful is with the branding
Right.
portion of it, because conservation has one style and one color. And then I noticed today over by our office, I take it it's the building where the dental office is, that little professional center there.
I think.
They put a whole new sign up, and I know they're a private entity, but it's burgundy. So it's totally not in with what typically we would do. So like, how do we work together too? So I think a consultant would be really beneficial, because we seem to be
So I don't know if that answered your question, Joe, but
Well, I was just taking a look at the grant site for the Mass Downtown Initiative. And there's two ways you can go. You can look for something that's much more comprehensive to what we just discussed and bringing some sort of consistency to the entire town brand. Or you can pick it a la carte and do one project at a time. I think that I asked that question because I was wondering if the commercial area signage was brought up and then sort of segued into this larger thought. And I like the larger thought, but it's a much larger thought to do a comprehensive rebrand on all the signing. I don't know that the grant process changes a whole lot. I think you put in an application and it's sort of a boilerplate application, and then you submit addendums to it from what I think I know about that process. When you've got shovel-ready projects that you want to try to fund. But the side that I saw that Mary's talking about, I don't know how you're going to tell a private entity how to do it. I would love to be able to have everyone look the same, but it does look nice regardless of what color they chose. It did stand out to me. Maybe it stands out because it's winter time, but one other thing I had, the wraps that we were doing.
oh yes, good point.
Are we wrapping Winslow Gray and Forest Road?
We were gonna wrap as many more as we could basically and identify. So yes, if that one hasn't been wrapped yet.
Okay.
Although we were planning on leaving the ones that have the nice historic pictures because those are still in pretty good shape unless you guys decide differently. So
Well, maybe-
it's one
Maybe
one of
that's-
those. What was that, Joe?
I said maybe Forest and Winslow Gray is one of those historic ones because it does have kind of a chrome tone to it.
Yeah, I'll look into that. But yeah, we were gonna try to wrap any ones that were bare, which I know there are quite a few, and there was also one at the Taylor Bray Farm. I think that just had to get put in that Karen wanted to see if we could wrap too. So yeah, that's a good point. That should probably be on the schedule here sometime. The only thing was that they can't be placed they can't be installed in the wintertime. There's no reason why you guys couldn't talk about it at any time and vote it, and we could have it ready to go. So
That's after it goes to the Board of Selectmen.
good
Can you
point,
imagine that?
Joanne.
We're gonna have wraps go to the Board of Selectmen,
Good
And then
point.
they won't like the pictures. that
and
we
then,
picked.
yeah,
Yeah,
or the locations.
I was just thinking of the wraps in the context of a whole town signage thing.
yeah. Yeah, well, I kind of view the wraps separately because they're more decorative than wayfinding. Yeah.
Well, let's hurry up and order the wraps
And they
and then
look
we'll
great,
tell
and
this
they do
town
look
select
great.
board that, sorry. we don't have-" Oh,
Well, we could
Well,
maybe put,
There's been, we've been talking about it, we've been tiptoeing around how this was going to manifest itself in terms of our committee, and I think we're starting to see maybe how it's manifesting itself in terms of our budget and its expected growth, and those who would want some say over it.
Yep.
Yep.
I think maybe this committee should be cognizant of those, of not giving people opportunities. I don't know if I would characterize what's happened recently as giving them an opportunity, but I guess I should go back and watch that meeting to see how it actually was portrayed.
I guess I should too.
Yeah.
When I'm in a better headspace, when I'm in a happy mood.
But as an example, if we're going, we've been talking about having this economic development consultant funnel their information in some form or fashion through our committee, is that another motivating factor for others to want to diminish our involvement? Just something to think about.
Well,
Yeah.
that contract would probably have to go to the board.
Yep.
Well, Scott
Right.
would be presenting a proposal to the board.
Right, we had talked about as part of the RFP, inserting some language that definitively put us into the process in some fashion, whether it be the reporting going through the committee or having a representative working in conjunction with the consultant, with the thought that we were being asked by the board to show what we're all about. But I guess that could work in two ways. Now we're trying to have control, or it could be portrayed as us trying to have control over what the town wants to do, because the assistant town administrator, came to us and made sure that we earmarked the money for him without giving us a whole lot of details, which I don't think that he doesn't plan on doing, but I don't know if the details that he's envisioning are more of our involvement in this process, or are we just a checkbook at that point?
Good questions. Good questions, Joe. And that's why I think we need to get some clarity from the board of selectmen. I don't know whether it's through Mark Forrest or whether it's through the town manager, but Kyle, it's all in your lap.
Sounds good. My buddy Mark. So maybe I'll put utility wraps on the 12th meeting with the Tracy Post discussion.
Yep.
What about the $50,000?
What about it? Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
bring that up to the committee because nobody has been responding to me.
Yeah, I know Karen forwarded your question to Bob Rittenhour, who did not respond to us. So
And they continue not to respond.
yeah, do you want to bring it up or do you want me to?
Go ahead.
So there's a $50,000 appropriation that's usually a part of, or is written into the legislation that is supposed to be a part of the Tourism Revenue Preservation Fund. But I also think, subject to appropriation. So it has not been appropriated in the last, I don't know, 3 to 5 years, 3 years. And we have not gotten any answer from the town administration's office about if that's going to change or what. Mary brought it up, and we forwarded that question to the town administrator's office and have not gotten any answer. So I'll ask Karen to follow up again. But
And that was about a month and a half ago, maybe 2
It's in the
months.
legislation. Yeah. That's very
And
clear.
then they're working on the budget now. So this is the time that we should be asking that question as a
Yep.
committee.
I'll have Karen follow up with Bob. I don't know what else we can do really, unless we want to get on an agenda for the board of selectmen to talk about it,
Or just a formal memo, maybe from this committee, if we don't get an answer requesting. that.
Mhm, mhm.
do that if you want.
Yeah.
Then it's in right. I mean, I threw an email out, but now I think if it comes from the entire committee, if we can't get an answer.
Why not?
I don't know that that's always been appropriated every year, though. I mean, even going back to some of the beginning years, I think it was really at the discretion of the town, the selectmen, as to whether they wanted to do it.
But we should be asking that, right? Like Tracy reminded us that night, ask the questions, right? So that's one of the questions. If it's written in the legislation, can give us an answer why it's not. And
Should we be requesting? Should we be prompting the discussion during the budget cycle to say, hey, we want the 50 appropriated?
right.
All right. Yeah, if you guys want me to
Just being
draft up a
on top
memo,
of
I
it.
can do that.
Yeah, that works for me. You guys want him to draft up a memo?
I think we should get much of this conversation to Ken.
Is this recorded?
Yes.
Yeah.
I can send him a link to the whole video.
Yeah.
I'll pick out the highlights too, so he doesn't have to watch. So do you guys, is that a yes?
I only say that because Kyle writing a memo is really gonna ring somebody's bell, so before we start ringing people's bells, I think Ken should be aware we're about to do.
Oh, good
So
point.
why don't we start with Kyle asking Karen just to follow up on my original email and see if that gets us an answer. And if not, then we can make a decision at the next meeting.
Sounds good.
Sure. Sounds good.
And in the meantime, if you can reach out to Ken, then.
Yeah.
All right, any other topics we want to add on?
I know this is our events, but so we are moving forward with the Winter Carnival
Excellent.
on February 18th, 19th, and 20th. We were able to get pieces of the ice skating rink together today. It was so exciting in our
Nice.
office.
Nice.
So what we're doing because of COVID, originally we were going to spread everything out around town. Now what we're doing is just inviting. So if Ryan Family Amusement wants to be doing something, that's great. We'll help promote them, or if the libraries are going to do something, but we're not going to manage it all. We're just going to have everything located at Skull Island. The arcade will be open. We'll have food trucks there, the skating rink. We're going to be doing s'mores. We have a petting zoo,
Oh, nice.
fire dancers. I have an entertainment license in before the select board on February 1st. So
So what are the dates again?
February 18th, 19th, and 20th.
Awesome.
So now now we've made the decision that we got the ice skating rink figured out. And so we're really excited. So we just thought we'd let you know because we know you guys funded the ice skating rink, and obviously this is through the marketing contract. So it'll be right at the start of February vacation. So
Excellent.
Perfect. Is it much of a job? Mary, is it much of a job assembling the ice skating rink?
The pieces are really heavy. They're 4x8 and they interlock and you have to hammer them in. But once we get the plastic down, I think it'll be put together in less than a half hour.
Oh, wow.
Fantastic. Good.
And then the chamber through our contract bought galvanized aluminum
Right.
fencing to go around it. So we'll have, bales of hay. People will pre-register because we can do 25 at the rink at the time. So we're really excited, and we're looking on getting the banner that fits over the fencing to promote the fact that the Economic Development Committee purchased the ice skating rink. So
Yeah.
we're really excited about it. So we just thought we'd share that with you.
Fantastic. Good news. All right. Anything else, Kyle?
The only other thing from me is, I don't know how you guys, I had to draft up an annual report for the CEDC. It's actually due by the end of this week. So I have it here. I don't know if you guys just want me to review it with Steve, or if you guys want to review it now, or I can send it out and people can take a look at it. However you want to do it. It's pretty boilerplate. I just kind of take it from the year before and update it with, this year's information. Talk about the stuff you guys expended funds for and what your plans are in 2022 based off, I knew what your topics were of discussion. So I can send it out to the committee and you guys can take a look at it if you want.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Yeah, you did send it out, but I had it. Yeah, I'll
Oh,
send
I didn't see
comments.
it.
Yeah, it was right after the minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
It wasn't that obvious. So
Is there,
Sorry about that.
is there any,
Okay.
some in-depth profiles on new board appointees, a full outlay of,
the third page is just a big picture of your face, Joe. We say our new member, Joe Manning. We got the two Joes. We went from the Smith brothers to the two Joes.
yeah, I think there's an Instagrammable moment in there, Joe, somewhere. Maybe we should in front of one of the wraps that's done.
There you
There
go.
you go.
Yeah, so I'll send it out to the committee. If you could just get me comments by Friday, that would be great. If you have any. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah, sorry for the short notice, but should have got it out sooner, but being on vacation last week screwed up everything for me.
Kyle, who does that go to?
That goes to the annual report. So it's included in the annual report that's published every year that they hand out at like town meeting.
Yep.
I actually wrote a CEDC annual report for it last year, submitted it like right away, and they did not include it. So
It was not an annual report, like. That's not right.
How does that
no
happen?
kidding.
That's
Yeah,
not right.
no kidding. And it's like insulting to my time that I put in to write it. They just don't even put it in.
Yeah. All right, is there anything else on the agenda?
Not for me.
I know folks want to go up.
Oh, unless,
Just one committee report.
Yeah.
Just the planning board is up to our knees a little bit in two possible spring annual town meeting amendments on housing. One, seasonal workforce housing. And that has been helped with Mary and the chamber. And we're going to have a report back from a couple of meetings that took place with Police Chief Frederickson. This is housing for seasonal employees, updating the current zoning bylaw that allows
Yep.
seasonal employees to stay in hotel rooms by broadening the definitions in some certain areas. As soon as we have a draft of that, I'll probably bring it to the committee and we can take a look at it. And then the other one is on short-term rentals. And this is one that goes to the TRPF fund directly. We in zoning, in the zoning bylaw, we are silent using the word short-term rentals. And as I understand it in municipal law, when zoning bylaws are silent, that means it's not allowed. So we are quickly trying to put together an amendment that would define short-term rentals, what they are. And so we're working on that, and we'll get that to you, because that is really, really important in a couple of different ways. One, it's an existing accessory use that has been ongoing in the town forever. It just needs to be codified and memorialized in the zoning bylaw. And secondly, if there's already been one successful lawsuit in one town where short-term rentals were not allowed because the zoning bylaw was silent. And if that happens to us, that's a lot of money. That's a 1.2 or 1.3 million in short-term rental excise tax. So we're trying to hustle to get that all straightened out as an amendment for spring annual town meeting. So I'll be able to report back at our next meeting, or maybe the following one, on where we are in both of those, but those are coming up.
All right, fantastic, good.
And a lot of work was done by Mary and the chamber.
I was just gonna say, it's a good example of the chamber working with the town and town working with the chamber.
And
Good work.
with two big players, Jamie Vieira from Davenport, who's the chief operating officer, and Jack Hines. So we've had two big players, kind of the face of this effort. So it's really quite good.
Well, I think, and if I could, Mary, it only took us about 2 or 3 meetings to get to the point where Joanne summarized very, very closely the work that you've done and with the other folks around the table with your little group that you have. So just a good example of how, when working together, if you put your nose to it, things can happen right away. So good work.
Well, thank
Tom
you.
Nicanello was also there, and he's a heavy hitter too. So I just
Yep.
want to give a shout out to Tom Nicanello.
Yep.
Don't tell him that. please. The shed will go boom.
Tom, I see you there. I know you're there in the background.
We love him.
All right.
Motion
Nothing
to adjourn.
We got, oh, Mary, you get your Can I have a
He
second?
did. A second.
All right, all those in favor? I oppose, so, we don't need, we gotta do, it. Aye, aye, aye.